Right team, welcome back to another Saturday tester. This week is going to be called Rent Free. It is 2 back-to-back 8-minute AMRAPs with a 6-minute rest in between. The first 8-minute AMRAP is going to start with a buy-in of a 50-calorie row or the allotted amount of calories for your group, and then moving into an ascending ladder of wall walks and double unders. So for example, you go through the 50-calorie row once, you then go into 1 wall walk, 10 double unders, 2 wall walk, 20 double unders, 330, 4 and 40, 5 and 50, etc, etc. Very similar in terms of theme to last year's open workout. So if you're looking for kind of a reference point for this workout, that's a great place to start. We're then going to rest 6 minutes and then move directly into the next 8-minute AMRAP, which is again going to be a 40-calorie bike as a buy-in, moving into another ascending ladder of a 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 of your dumbbell man makers at your allotted load, and a 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 of a toes to bar and knee raise. Again, you only have to do the row and the assault bike one time is the buy-in to the workout. Whatever time is left, you will then complete through that ladder style of a workout. Now, what will we be testing? Now, if we look at a ladder, which is an ascending rep scheme, we will be testing your muscle endurance. Okay, we will specifically be testing your pushing and pulling endurance. If we look at both movements, in terms of the first one, we have a wall walk, which is a push. We then have a dumbbell man maker, which is a pull into a push-up, into a squat, into a thruster. So there's a lot of kind of movements specifically through that pushing and pulling movement pattern. We'll also be trying to test your midline capacity with that kind of ascending ladder of the toes to bar and the dumbbell man makers. That midline and the overhead pressing and the wall walk is all going to be challenged. So let's make sure we're feeling comfortable with that. Now, how does this fit into your current training program? Now, as we all know, next week we are flowing into our testing week. So what we wanted to do is give you guys a little bit of variance with this week's Saturday tester, potentially giving you some movements that you haven't had exposure to, and also trying to deload certain movement patterns that we are going to be testing next week. For example, like the cleans, the hinge pattern, and the overhead position for those snatches. Now also, if we look at your Tuesday testers, we've been doing quite chunky, big pieces on the rower and on the assault bike. So if we're looking at the buy-ins for both of these workouts, we should have a good understanding of what kind of pace we can hold across that 40 and 50 calories on either the bike or the rower. Pacing. Now, as we look at this workout, unlike previous weeks where we've had a short or an incomplete rest in between, we're going to have quite a big chunky rest in between both workouts. 2 8-minute AMRAPs with a 6-minute rest in the middle, which means if you're feeling good, we can potentially either push the pace, or if we are taking testing week a little bit more seriously next week in terms of pushing for a certain goal, we can take this week's Saturday tester at a bit of a deloaded pace so that we can start to feel good moving into the testing week. Now, just like any 2 scored event, if we look at the both scores, you will be scored on workout 1 and workout 2. So what we don't want to be doing is getting a really good workout for the first one and then being bottlenecked on the second one. We want to make sure that we're able to maintain a solid pace across both 8-minute AMRAPs. As I said, an ascending ladder is always harder than a descending ladder, so just bear that in mind when we're choosing your pacing strategy. For most of us, if we're doing this first one, the workout's not really going to start getting challenging until we start to move into those higher reps of wall walks. So let that dictate your pace. You don't want to get through the 1 and 2 really quickly and then get to number 3 and be like, holy shit, I can't do another wall walk, and have to rest a big chunky amount of time. Trying to maintain that solid pacing is going to keep you good and keep the scores coming in for both events. And the final piece for pacing, if we look at both of these workouts, there is a buy-in. What does that mean? You can really start to fluff up your buy-in just by going a little bit too quick. Now remember, you don't get scored on either of the buy-ins, so it doesn't matter how quickly you go through them. What does matter is how far through on the ladders on both workouts that you get, and that is going to be your score. The buy-ins are just there to almost challenge your pacing strategy a little bit more, so let's make sure we understand that, team, before we set out. Remember, there's a 7-day free trial for all of our non-subscribers. Let's make sure we grab a buddy and get after this one. Rent-free.